Merry New Year!
I had the most absurd nightmare. I was poor and no one liked me.
I know what you're thinking. You see Porgy and Bess? We can make it, baby! Me and you!
Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy are trading places.
Help! Help! Hey, I don't want your bag, man. Help! 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 Help!
I'll bet that man could run our company as well as your young Winthrop.
Are we talking about a wager, Randolph?
Is there a problem, officers?
Oh, Winthrop. I'm glad your parents are not alive to see this.
Wait, now this is totally preposterous. I'm not a thief.
Here we are. William, take off your clothes.
You are making a career decision here.
Take off your clothes.
Did you hear what this man said to me? Now, I have witnesses. This man is physically threatening me.
Hey, Randy, Monte, this is nice. I like this.
We are commodities brokers, William. Commodities are agricultural products like wheat, which is used to make bread, pork bellies, which is used to make bacon, which you might find in a bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwich.
I'm considering going long on April wheat. What do you think, Valentine?
Freeze, slimeball.
Moi?
Put that gun away at once, Winthrop. You lost your mind?
Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. They're not just getting rich, they're getting even.
Do you have any better ideas?
Yeah, you know, it occurs to me that the best way you hurt rich people is by turning them into poor people.
Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. Ralph Bellamy.
We've got to get Wilson and tell him to sell.
Don Ameche.
Randolph, this isn't monopoly money we're playing with.
Denholm Elliott.
What a scumbag.
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
By the way, food and rent, not the only things around here that cost money. You sleep on the couch.
Trading places. Some very funny business.
South on in April of 142!
Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to another movie review. And this review is going to be on Trading Places, which was released in 1983. And the film stars Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, Ralph Bellamy, Don Ameche, Denholm Elliott, and Jamie Lee Curtis. And the film was directed by John Landis. Of course, John Landis ended up directing many, classic films, Animal House, The Blues Brothers, An American Werewolf in London. He also directed Come to America, which also starred Eddie Murphy. And Trading Places, this is a film that I have heard of, and I just got done watching the film, and I really enjoyed it. It is a fun film. It is hilarious. It's a classic, in my opinion. And this is the second film Eddie Murphy did. Of course, the first Eddie Murphy film that he did, which was his motion picture debut, was 48 Hours. Of course, he was on SNL for, those years before he got 48 Hours. And basically, what the film is about is it follows these brothers, Randolph and Mortimer Duke, who are played by Ralph Bellamy and Don Ameche. And the brothers own this commodities brokerage firm called Duke and Duke. And they encounter, their managing director, Louis Winthrop III, who was played by Dan Aykroyd. And pretty much basically, it also follows a street hustler named Billy Ray Valentine, who was played by Eddie Murphy. And the brothers end up, making a bet to test how Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy's characters will perform. So they end up making Eddie Murphy's character, live in this, home that, Dan Aykroyd lived in, and they give him, new suits, and, he ends up working for the brothers, while Dan Aykroyd, he is basically, Eddie Murphy's, character now, because there is this guy that works with the brothers, who's named Clarence Beeks, who was played by Paul Gleason, and he ends up framing Dan Aykroyd's character, and Dan Aykroyd's character is framed as a thief and a drug dealer and a philanderer. So pretty much, basically, he's fired from Duke and Duke, and his bank accounts get frozen. He's denied entry into his home that was under the Dukes, which of course Eddie Murphy's character at this point is now living in. So pretty much, basically, Dan Aykroyd's character ends up meeting this woman named Ophelia, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and she is a prostitute, and she ends up helping Dan Aykroyd's character in exchange for a financial reward, and this is all to secure her own retirement. And pretty much that's basically what the plot of the film is about. But I really enjoyed the film. Like I said, it's a classic. Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, they worked really well together in the scenes that they were in. You feel bad for Dan Aykroyd's character and how the brothers end up doing this bet and giving everything to Eddie Murphy, and making Dan Aykroyd out on the streets, because the only reason why they did this bet is because Eddie Murphy bumped into Dan Aykroyd, and Dan Aykroyd was saying, oh, Eddie Murphy's character was robbing him, and pretty much that gave the idea of the brothers, Ralph Bellamy and Don Ameche's characters, to do this bet. So to get back to Dan Aykroyd's character, because they know that, Eddie Murphy, wasn't robbing Dan Aykroyd, and Eddie Murphy was just giving back Dan Aykroyd's briefcase. But, Eddie Murphy, this is classic Eddie Murphy, very early Eddie Murphy, where he has comedic charm to him. He had of course, he did the laugh in the film, the and of course, you can't forget the scene where he's on the train, and he sees Paul Gleason's character, and he goes, "Merry New Year!" And then, beef jerky time. You want some beef jerky? But yeah, Eddie Murphy, is just awesome in the film. Ralph Bellamy and Don Ameche, I thought both of them did a very good job portraying the brothers. They are, your villains of the film. Same with Paul Gleason's character. Of course, Paul Gleason, may he rest in peace. He portrayed, really good villains in films. Of course, he's well known, as, Principal Vernon in The Breakfast Club. And you also have Denholm Elliott, who plays Coleman, who is Dan Aykroyd's character's butler. Of course, Denholm Elliott, was in, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Famously, he plays the character of Marcus Brody in those two films. But it was good to see him in the film here. Jamie Lee Curtis, she did good in a role as Ophelia. Very early Jamie Lee Curtis role. She did this after Halloween and Halloween 2. And pretty much this, broke Jamie Lee Curtis away, from just only being known as a scream queen, in the first two Halloween films. And originally, they did not want Jamie Lee Curtis in the film, but John Landis ended up seeing, something in, Jamie Lee Curtis and cast her for the role. And originally, this film was going to star Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. And the film was originally going to be known as Black and White. But John Landis disliked the title, and since they originally wanted Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder in Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd's roles, Richard Pryor was severely injured after he set fire to himself while freebasing cocaine, and the decision was made to cast someone else. So Paramount ended up suggesting Eddie Murphy, to which Paramount was unhappy with Eddie Murphy's performance in 48 Hours. And, however, that film, of course, was well received by test audiences. John Landis was aware of Eddie Murphy because he was, of course, gaining fame on Saturday Night Live. So John Landis ended up watching some of Eddie Murphy's audition tapes, and Landis was impressed by what he saw of Eddie Murphy's audition tapes. So he ended up traveling to New York to meet with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy ended up saying that he was paid $350,000 for the role, and it was reported that the figure was as high as $1 million. So a little bit of trivia there. And John Landis, of course, wanted Dan Aykroyd to serve as Eddie Murphy's co-star, to which, John Landis ended up working with Dan Aykroyd on the Blues Brothers. But overall, Trading Places, it's a classic comedy. Good performances by Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. And, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. I liked how the film was set in Philadelphia. And when I was in Philadelphia for WrestleMania weekend last year, I kind of saw some of the places that that they shot the film in Philadelphia. So, but it was cool to see. But overall, Trading Places, highly recommend the film if you all haven't seen it. And if you're a Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy fan, definitely give it a watch. But anyway, that's it for my review of Trading Places. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later tonight with the SmackDown review. So, see you all later tonight.